Okay, so I was watching Lord Jamar's video on VladTv. The title of the video is Lord Jamar explains why women shouldn't be with multiple men. The majority of the video talks about some guy having sex with a dog, so you have to fast forward to about halfway. But once you do, there there are some pretty there's some points that I don't understand. Let's just put it that way. I'm not going to say he's wrong, I'm right, but I'm just going to say that I disagree. I have no issues with Lord Jamar, but personally on this topic, I feel that he's wrong. And this is why I feel he's wrong. Some of the things he talks about are perception and stigma, and how if a man sleeps with multiple women, he's perceived as being some big shot and he's achieved something, it's an accomplishment, he's a skilled um a skilled ladies man. Like it requires some talent to sleep with a bunch of women, which I don't really think is true. I mean, you could just be good looking. I don't know. But and so that's why he believes, like, on the one hand, men and women different. And women, if they sleep with multiple men, their perception in society, the stigma associated around that is that women are worthless, she's trash, she's easy, um, she's she might be fun to sleep with, but she's not marriage potential, you can't take her seriously, she's not good for anything else. And my argument to Lord Jamar for this is perception reality? Because then if that's the case, then you could apply that to black people and other people of color. Essentially what you're saying is how the majority views something is right, which I don't think that's what your intention is. I think you're just trying to use it for that argument, and I think if you expand it and apply it to different areas, you can see why that's flawed. Um, just because something is perception doesn't make it reality. And when he talks about it, and when he talks about a man being skilled in his ability to sleep with multiple women, I have to ask him this, like, have you ever been a teenage girl? Think of a situation where you've been with uh, a young woman. Most guys place a lot of pressure on the female to engage in sexual activity. And men seem to think that women do not want sex too. And we have hormones also. We do have a sex drive. So why are you allowed to meet your needs but a woman isn't? To me, that doesn't make sense. And for you to say, oh, it's biology, it's true to a certain extent that women have to be more careful because they run the risk of being pregnant and having to take care of the baby simply because they're the carrier. We're also susceptible to diseases more so than men, but men can still get diseases. And under the law, men are still obligated to take care of their children, whether it's financially or if they actually want to be involved in people's lives. Just because it exists in nature doesn't make it true. This is the biological fallacy. We're human beings, we've evolved to certain standards and practices. Now, if you want to argue that it's because of biology, then that means you have to accept infanticide, so killing children after birth, because that exists in nature and is recorded in human history, as well as murder. That's a natural impulse, fight or flight. But we're humans, we have laws, we have evolved to control our behavior. So I don't know why it's fair that men are supposed to be less evolved, if you want to look at it that way, and not control their lust, and women are supposed to be held to a higher standards and control themselves. And another thing that I want to bring up is these ideas are very damaging. this when you associate female sexuality with being dirty or decreasing your values, and it can translate into some I don't know if I'd go so far as to say mental health issues, but women have been known to have issues with sex. It's called vaginismus because the mental effect starts to affect the physical. Your, I guess you could call it female performance anxiety. And you can research it further. It is a real thing, it's a real issue. But women are essentially unable to enjoy sex even after marriage because of the association and the connotation that female sexuality has. Sex is dirty. Regardless of if you're outside of marriage, if you lose your virginity, you're now unpure. And it doesn't make sense how a piece of paper changes the context or it changes your value. Because at the end of the day, you can always get divorced. Your husband can always cheat on you. And that's another issue. Even if I keep my legs closed until marriage, that doesn't mean if my husband is being held to a different standard, he can still bring me an STD or even worse, HIV or herpes, because he's being held to a different standard, and men are usually the carriers. And you're going to say, oh, well, it's your responsibility to find a suitable partner. Well, he's an adult, and I haven't held his hand every second of his life, so I'm not going to be aware of all his actions. It's not fair to make me responsible for myself as well as that other person. Another thing he doesn't understand, because he's not a female, is the standard that we're held to. There's a whore and virgin dichotomy. Now, when you're the virgin, men expect so much of you when you've had so little experience. It seems that a lot of your sexual worth just comes from being the first. So, after that happens, most men don't want to stick around to teach you and actually make sure that you enjoy the process. They expect you to be able to do all these tricks and to know how to satisfy them and to know what you're doing, and that's just not how it works. You learn through experience, you get better through experience. I'm sure as an adult you realize that your first experience is probably not as good as what you're doing now. Maybe not in terms of performance, who knows? I don't really want to know. But I lost my train of thought there for a minute. But yeah. And then when you're on the opposite side of the spectrum, the whore, you have too much experience. Men enjoy sleeping with you, but somehow your value has diminished because they've been satisfied sexually, or you know what you want and know what you expect out of sex, which isn't fair. We're human beings too. We have sex organs for a reason. We're meant to enjoy sex also. I mean, we do orgasm also. So I don't really understand why we're not supposed to embrace or to enjoy our sexuality. I'm not saying that women should go out there and just sleep with everyone, but women should be able to embrace their sexuality as much as a man does. It doesn't make sense. If you're able to sleep with whoever you want to, and you're a big shot if you do, who are you sleeping with if everybody's supposed to be a virgin and wait for that one person? So you talk and you coax and you coerce this woman into sleeping with you, or it's consensual, and all of a sudden she's worth less to you because she allowed herself to engage in an experience that you talked her into, that you wanted her to participate in the first place. That doesn't make sense. And then when you hold out for a long time, men also get frustrated. So it's like, oh, they come into relationships expecting certain things. It's just, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You really can't. And you make it seem like men are a lot more perfect than they actually are. It's not fair for me to be pure and chaste when my partner isn't held to the same standard. I shouldn't have to save myself for you if you can't even extend the same courtesy to me. I shouldn't be expected to be faithful to you if you can't extend the same courtesy to me. Regardless of the whole infamous lock and key metaphor, well, if I'm supposed to be a better lock, then your key isn't opening any doors that it's not supposed to. You're only going to be able to open that one lock you were designed for, and I'm pretty sure you would hate that life if you had to live it. Okay, well, that's all I have to say. I want to know what you guys think. Ladies, please vouch for me, because I feel like some of the guys are going to go in. So, sisters, let's stick together.